The first 16 years of my existence were war. So continuously from 71 to 1986, for us it was war, turmoil. We would just arrive, 6 of you arrive at your auntie's place, and you're there, 6, for the next, I don't know. You don't know for how long you're going to stay at your auntie's place, where she would get money to feed these 6 children, including hers.
You're welcome to Live with Simon Chris Makanga. This episode is going to be amazing. We're going to have a great conversation, and if you are new here, kindly go ahead and subscribe. Our special guest tonight is an amazing gentleman. He's a true definition of what we call a blessing. I'm going to tell you why. He is a business research consultant. He works for Rock Telecom. He's a father, a husband, and a community leader. Mr. Tenywa Anthony, as many people call you Tony.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you on Live with Simon Chris Makanga.
Pleasure too.
I don't take this lightly.
I know.
You know.
I know.
I'm glad you said you know.
I know.
When I look at you, I see a true definition of what we call a blessing. You know, when many of us pray to God, I believe in God. When we pray to God that bless me, He will bless the works of your hands.
Yeah, true.
And when I met you, you were such a big blessing to me because you recommended me for a business and I was paid. Thank you so much.
Still waiting for my invoice.
You know that's what happened when you get to speak to a marketeer.
Still waiting for my invoice.
It's a big pleasure to have you in a conversation with me.
Thank you too. True.
We're going to tap a lot into your wisdom. You come from a place where many people say the rich people stay in Arkwright City, Green Terrace, what? GTT.
The Green Terrace Village.
Green Terrace Village.
Yeah, true.
Under Arkwright City in Bwebajja.
Yes.
How do you measure success?
Success is what you set out to do and what you achieve ultimately. I set out to live in Arkwright, and I committed myself that I will live in Arkwright regardless of how much a plot was going for. So when I got it, that was my first milestone, which I could celebrate as a success because I wanted to achieve that and I achieved it. So every time you set out to do something and you ultimately do it with a lot of resources and effort that you put in and you get what you really wanted to achieve, then for me I feel that is success.
How would you describe your childhood background?
The childhood is a mix-up of things. Chris, I was born in 1971, meaning I came in at a time when the President Amin was also in power, because he also came into power in 1971. So the whole of 71 to 79, it was either war. There were so many issues. There was turmoil. There was all those things that
actually
you read
there was
about.
constant turmoil. There was the 1975, 1976 financial strike.
If you read your history, 71 to 79 wasn't a good time for a kid growing up. But that's the time we grew up. So continuously from 71 to 1986, for us it was war, turmoil. So that informed my childhood. So it was a childhood of duka. Because my dad was a civil servant working with the Ministry of Works. By then it was Works and Housing before it became Housing and Urban Development. So my dad was a civil servant, so he went to places. He was in Masindi at the time I was getting born. He went to Gulu, came to Kampala, posted to Jinja. He was being posted everywhere. So because he was being posted everywhere, we could not live with him because he's here for 6 months, he's there for 2 years, we had to find a permanent place to be as a family. And then there was war. We went to these schools. I studied in Jinja, and there was also war. So most times we would leave school, go back home because of war. miss 1 month, come back, return, that kind of thing. Most times we would find ourselves living in Kampala, but the situation wasn't the best. So we would find ourselves every time going to the village because of war. Anytime war would happen. So it wasn't good to keep children within Kampala because war would erupt anytime. So we'd find ourselves coming back to the village. So we grew up in both places, and we grew up a lot with our relatives. Unlike now, for us, we grew up a lot with our relatives because if the situation is calm in Jinja, they would send the children in Jinja. And we would just arrive. It was very interesting because there were no phones. We would just arrive, 6 of you arrive at your auntie's place, and you're there, 6 for the next, I don't know. You don't know for how long you're going to stay at your auntie's place, where she would get money to feed these 6 children, including hers. But those were the relatives of those days. They were extremely accommodative to situations, because situations then warranted that you had to be welcoming to people as much as possible, because anything could happen to you, and you also make a move. So it would be a good idea if you're welcoming, so that people would be welcoming to you because of what we were. So the first 16 years of my existence were war. So we started during wartime. We lived during wartime, so we witnessed war. We sang war songs. All those things happened to us. So it was a mixed bag of things.
Let's speak to what really makes your hands dirty.
My career path started from electronics. I studied electronics at the very beginning. Then I admired the marketers. So, and I'm still a marketer, by the way. But of course, my career threw me into the world of research. So, but even in research, my area of specialty was market research. So again, I carried the marketing with me wherever I went. So I was in research for quite some time. I worked with quite a number of agencies, basically helping them understand the market and how the markets evolve. I now work with Rock Telecom, where
What keeps you busy there?
Rock Telecom is again I met when I was coming in here. I met a client, and I said, "Oh, thank you for giving us that unlimited internet." So he thanked me for giving them the unlimited internet, meaning that he recognized the role that we play. If I ask you, let me ask, what do you use internet for?
Quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot. So I don't even know what you use internet for.
Research, communication.
There's so many things that you use internet
It's all around me.
Yeah.
Internet is all around me.
Yes.
But do you ever imagine a world without internet?
I don't know how those guys lived. Back in the day, but it was an era where internet wasn't there, so they lived.
But I think it was a good moment. People were so close to each other.
Yeah, I keep telling people that before internet, we were so conversational because we had to create our own stories. Every evening back in the village, we would sit around a fireplace from 6 p.m. because we didn't have lights. Paraffin wasn't so cheap. Umeme wasn't as spread. The distribution for Umeme wasn't as spread as it is right now. So a lot of these villages, there was no
And by the way, Tony, talk of that. You're one of the people, you've written an article calling upon the corporates.
Yes.
To embrace their culture.
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Because I realized that a lot of children who are born in Kampala, they've never connected with their culture. When they go back in the villages have transformed. I was actually giving you the example of the village we lived in and the village right now. The village right now mirrors what is happening in Kampala. So you find a guy has a 2-storied building here and has a 3-storied building in the village. There are washing machines, there are everything, and so it's like it has been replicated. In our days, it was quite different. We got to interact. We got to converse with people. We got to have conversation with people living in the villages. We learned quite a lot about our culture. We were exposed to that level of culture. The children now do not have that level of exposure because we still have wall fences back in the village. where we just used to live freely. Your neighbor was just, there was basically nothing to separate you apart from a banana field or something like that. So we learned quite a lot about culture. Right now, that level of exposure is dwindling, is thinning out, especially for the kids that are living here. And these are kids that are turning out to work in all these corporate organizations. They've not had an interaction with their culture. So while I was an advocate for corporate companies sponsoring culture and culture events, was because I wanted their people to get out of those offices and get into spaces that would offer them knowledge about culture. And not just your own culture. I come from the East, I come from Busoga. Attending a culture event from Busoga is good, but attending a Bachiga Nation event is good for me because I then get to learn about other cultures. So it wasn't about corporate sponsorship and you have your name and logo on all these communications going out, but actually telling your members to go out there and interact with culture, because there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of learning from culture, and unfortunately, we do not have spaces where we can learn from.
What do you tell your children?
I do not tell them, I also allow them to experience. My daughter just called me this evening, and she was asking me for an attire, because they're going to have a culture day. And I asked her, what are you going to do during the culture day? And she said she was going to dance. Then I told her, what dance? She said, I'm going to dance Kisoga dance. Of course, I was so excited because...
it's where you come from.
It's where I come from. And the school is giving my child an opportunity to interact with her own culture. So a lot of these things start from at that level of school. So even when actually my advocacy is going to shift from just looking at corporate entities supporting culture events. Yes, the culture events at national level, but they should also throw in some level of support at culture within schools, because the schools are doing a great job in ensuring that they conserve culture.
You know, when I hear you speak about culture and your advocacy, it really speaks to who you are. The way you guys are organized, the GTT having a village within a city in Bwebajja. You know what comes into my mind is Japan being the biggest producer of people who have lived the longest on earth.
Yes.
And they are called the Okinawans. So the youngest there, as recorded by 2022, was 83, a man of 83. Imagine a community of people and the youngest is 83. And what has kept them to live longer is the sense of community, which our ancestors really observed here so much. And you guys, who we call the rich people, have also carried on the same culture, and you organized in a group called GTT. Why?
Well, if you notice, the landscape is changing. The kind of buildings we are putting up are wall fences. And you have a neighbor here, you have a neighbor here, you have a neighbor here, and unfortunately you don't know who these neighbors are. Everybody has put a wall fence on his house, and everybody is living there by themselves. Some of us come from society where we didn't have wall fences, and everybody coexisted with the others without those wall fences. So when we reached ARKRIGHT, and this habit of wall fences, of course, existed and still exists, we wanted to break the wall fences and live as if we are living in a community. I'm a community builder. Being a community builder means that I have to encourage people to live in a community. There are some values that are found in communities. So the reason why we had to create a group within the city that allowed us to interact was because we feared that we are going to build wall fences on ourselves. So we say that the wall fences exist on the physical structures. Let's not put a wall fence on ourselves.
How important is that?
It's important because you're seeing a lot of people dying because of loneliness. Have you noticed the trend?
Yeah.
There's that trend where there are so many mental cases. They call it what? Mental what?
Mental health.
Mental health is a serious issue in society. And some of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of mental health cases is because some people don't have that connection with society or with other people.
I think it's also a good opportunity to really talk about mental health, because it's one of the killers that we have. One, some may be depressed and they don't know that, or mentally ill and they don't know that they are mentally ill. Even those that discover that they are mentally ill, most cases they don't know where to go. And you find that we live in a society where people are mentally ill but they don't know where to go. Even those that know where to go, probably they cannot afford the facility. But it's also important that we speak, especially to the men, because we are living in a society where men's egos have been suppressed down due to a number of factors that we may not even dwell into. But you find that they're one of the contributing factors or the pushing factors to a man into depression. And the carrying rotten hearts in the apartments. Let's not even talk about men. Everybody. How do they get out from there?
Well, again, it goes back to how they got in there, because you also have to study the circumstances that led them there. Because nobody just gets into this state without some underlying conditions or underlying factors. So we have to understand some of the underlying factors. I've given you examples of if you're disconnected from your society in one way or the other, you're living in high walls, you have nobody to talk to. It could catalyze. If you're in a workstation and things are happening and you have nobody to talk to, it could catalyze. If you're down in terms of you don't have money on you, it could catalyze. If your child is just out of school because you haven't paid fees, it could catalyze. There are so many factors that could cause somebody to slide into depression. So many things. Issues around marriage, issues around so many issues that could make people slide into depression. So you have to create a mechanism that allows you to meet to connect to a group of people that you can fall back to.
The support system.
In case of anything. So your support system has to be strong and has to be diverse. You have to look at so many factors. So the support system is not necessarily going to support you in whatever way possible, financial or anything.
It's just to lean back.
It could also be a fallback to, if I leave work and just go home straight with all my issues, I just go home straight, sleep or watch a movie and that's it. That kind of pattern may not be sustainable for me. But if I know that at 6 o'clock, I have a group of people that I'm meeting with to do A, B, C, D, E, then that could take away part of this burden that I've carried since the beginning of the day, or that I've carried from work or anywhere else. It could, because I'm going to meet a group of people, we are going to chat about different things, maybe we're meeting over something. It could help diffuse all the tension that I had. So I always want to encourage people that find what they call communities that you can go to. Those in Pentecost have what they call cells. You have a cell here, you have a cell here, you have a cell here. That you get engaged into those cells. If you're living in a community, understand what is happening within the community and be part of the community. That's why people end up in leadership of these communities. Now, in our case, we created a group within the village, because we knew at the end of the day, everybody comes back to this village. So we decided to say, okay, if everybody's coming back to our village, why can't we do a group where we can meet with our wives, with our children, and have a moment together? So for us, that is the kind of fabric that we have built. So I encourage people to find these communities.
Is that why you joined Rotary?
Rotary again is again my background as a community builder. Because I've always wanted to, because so many people have given back to me. Not that I gave them anything, but as part of growing up, we had the way of surviving, and a lot of people gave to ensure that we had a good education, that we had a good well-being. So when you reach a certain stage and you realize that the people that gave you are probably not existing anymore, maybe they died or now they are too old, you need to give back. You may not necessarily give back to those same people, but you can find another way of giving back to society. And for me, being in Rotary is one, it's a service beyond self, is trying to find emotive ways in which I can connect with the people that are deprived, because it's best when you, from my point of view, it's best when I go back and give back to the unserved or the underserved. So I find much pleasure and more gratitude when I give back to a society that I know has been deprived or has been underserved or unserved. So for me, taking back whatever I have and giving it back to that society, and I see transformation, is the reason why I joined Rotary.
You know, when we were coming for this conversation, I was talking to my producer, and I was asking him that if you went back home and flipped the curtain, and then you find your wife with another man, according to what we've learned from maturity, how would you deal with that?
It's a hard one, and I don't know how we responded to it. Did he respond to it? Did he give you an answer?
He went silent.
Yeah, he went mute. In most cases, that would be a first reaction. You go mute. You either go mute. Going mute means that you're giving yourself chance to try to understand the situation. Yeah, going aggressive means that you've not exhausted all moments for you to understand why the situation has unfolded like that. He chose to mute. Because he's like, I could have contributed to this moment. So he chose to do that. So again, it depends on how you quickly absorb yourself into the situation and make a decision on your next course of action. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm speaking to a married man. And I would like to tap into your experience as a married man in favor of so many other men that are going to be watching this. How old have you been married?
We've been together for 22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
How are your first 2 years?
The first 2 years are normally years of exploring, because those are the years they call the years of courtship before a final decision is made. They are normally the best years, but they are years that one has to study carefully, because they either make or build your marriage. Those are the 2 years where you're supposed to study your spouse, and she is equally supposed to study you. The do's and don'ts, because you're all getting into the thing for the first time. You've not built maybe that level of maturity to be together. You're not used to being with this person you've just met, and you want this person to be the person you're going to live with for the rest of your life. So you have to do a lot of studying. Don't overstudy as if you want to get a PhD out of this relationship. No, but take care of the details. Take care of the details. And when I say the details, it's deep. It's deep.
What are the details?
It's deep.
As a man, I'm trying to understand
It's
you, but
deep.
this will depend on where you're coming from.
It's deep. It's deep. It takes care of your values have values. Your background have background, because background shape who we are. but the things that we continuously do, the things that we love to do, the things that we are strong on, those values, there must be some kind of match, not total mismatch.
Why did you marry your wife?
Well, she when she came into my life, my perspectives about life changed.
How?
I started being more forward-looking. I was enjoying my moment. But the moment she came into my life, there's just something that happened that allowed me to start looking at life differently. Life beyond self, life beyond the pleasures that I was living. So she gave me that moment to learn, to pivot from. And I started seeing a difference in the things that I was doing. And from that moment, the connection started building. Like I said, it's not like it builds at once. The connection started building in realizing that this relationship that I'm in right now is more forward-looking than living the pleasures I was living back then.
So how do you guys deal with these natural vices like jealousy, envy, competition?
Those ones exist, but if you draw so much on them, they will absorb you, or they will consume you. That's the word. They will consume you.
How do you watch aging?
How do I watch aging? And there's so many factors. I exercise, like everybody says. I exercise. So I try to exercise as much as possible. I watch my diet. I watch the things I eat. It's not that I'm very selective on what I eat, but I just watch the things that I eat, the quantities that I take in. I eat a lot in moderation, but I also try as much as possible to keep happy. My emotional being has to be a happy one.
Okay.
Besides the physical being, I have to be emotionally stable. I have to keep worries away. I have to keep stress away. I try as much as possible to keep stress away and live a life of happiness. Joy. Where I find joy, I enjoy. So I do quite a lot of things that make me happy. I sing. I'm in the choir.
Wow.
So in my church, I sing. So when I have a moment, I go and sing. I participate in church a lot. But for me, singing is a good thing. Me and my wife and a colleague of ours, we also have a group that does karaoke on our own. Yeah, we call ourselves the ARKRIGHT Trio. The ARKRIGHT Trio is just the three of us singing along some of these songs. And it's a moment, because me and my wife have a moment together. We just put a big screen and say, today we are going to sing these 3 songs. And then we just sing and be happy.
Wow.
That's what we do.
Wow.
Yeah. So that helps to galvanize family, but it also helps to chase away a lot of stress
The negative
factors.
energies.
Yeah, the negative energy. The world is full of negative energies. So we try to avoid those situations that will create negative energies. So I run away from certain things. If I see that this thing is not good, intentionally. If I know this thing is not going to make me happy, or it's quite unproductive, or there's a lot of negative energy here, I find an escape route. Yeah, I escape away from it.
Do you realize that you have a good voice?
A good voice for?
Communication.
I don't know. Some people have told me I have a good voice. You've confirmed? You've validated?
As a communicator, yes, I would say you have a good voice, but
no, I just have a deep voice, and unfortunately, I've not been singing for the last, I think, 4 months. But when I go for choir practice, my voice becomes better. So if you're saying that it's better now,
how do you
then
train?
I wish you had seen me like 4 months into singing, like we are preparing for Christmas carols. Then you'd have said, guy in a
Do you train it?
No, no, I don't.
It's
just my normal voice.
Wow.
Yeah, just my normal voice.
How do you deal with the temptation of women?
Well, I think that era is gone.
Let's be realistic, Tony.
No, that era is gone. Where we were experiencing all these temptations. First of all, the places I go to have changed. Now, the kind of places I go to are not places where I find people to tempt you. Yeah, like I told you, I go for Rotary. I'm a leader in the village. I'm a leader in the city. I'm a leader at work. So leadership has to be valued. So when you're in a position of leadership, those temptations are very, very minimal. Yeah, I'm married. Everybody knows I'm married. I keep my ring on. But I also try to avoid such situations. But for me, the most important thing is I don't go to places where I know I will be vulnerable to temptation. I avoid them. I rarely go to bars. Bars, I think, is a place where you would find a lot of temptations. Yeah, so I minimize going to bars. When I'm going to a bar, I'll probably walk in with my wife and have a beer or two, and then walk away.
Where did you meet her?
We met in Kampala. Like I said, 22 years ago, through a friend. A friend just passed by with her, and I was like...
And then you saw.
Then I was like, but you? So, who is that chick? Man, chika kuye. Chika kuye. Hey, are you serious? Man. Chika kuye. Ngena mugamba, wait to tell her. First tell me who is she. So I was given information. Oh, she's this. I said, oh, you want to make a move. I want to make a move. That moment when I met my wife, they came. I had a friend of mine, and she said she was coming to visit me with her two friends. So I inquired which two friends. She said, no, you'll see them. Just make sure you're home. I used to live in my Muzigo. And I was like, okay. I gave it a facelift, because her friends were coming to visit me. Put a fridge there, put some stuff there, brought a few things here, nice pillows, chicks were coming to visit.
Covers of them.
Yes, I could have even borrowed a few things to put in this house here. Little did I know that actually that was the moment when I was going to meet my wife. Yeah, of course there had been similar visits by other people, but my level of preparedness wasn't to this level. Yeah.
So if you had a conversation with God, an urgent conversation with God, for about 10 seconds, what would you tell him?
What would I tell God for 10 seconds? I think for me, the one thing that I need to tell God in the 10 seconds is to empower people to know what is good and what is bad, and to be able to appreciate the goodness of the things they do, and also to get to appreciate that doing bad to a human being is not the best. This is our world to live in. Everybody must live happily. God created us to enjoy our world. We must live in a world where everybody enjoys their world. So give people wisdom to discern. You call it discern?
Discernment.
Yeah, discernment. Yes. To understand what is good and what is bad, and to be able to push what is good and to push away what is bad.
How do you stay motivated amid all the things that you're doing?
It's a choice. It's a choice that I've taken to remain motivated. So the things that I do are geared towards making me motivated. Yeah, so I look out for opportunities that make me motivated as much as possible. Yeah, and I have to self-motivate myself. There may not be people to motivate me. I have to self-motivate myself at work. I have to self-motivate myself at home. I have to self-motivate myself in society and the communities that I live in.
And it's from that point that I'm going to say thank you so much.
Thank you
for passing by.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sacrificing your time. Sorry we spent it, but it's all for a good cause. And it's been a pleasure sitting on your feet to learn so many things. And as I'm going to be saying bye-bye, I'll be speaking to a man who is married, but you're carrying a broken heart. Stick to your purpose. Know why you got into that marriage and fight for it to make sure that it stands as a man. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. My name is Simon Chris Makanga. May the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be with you until we meet for another episode. But I want to say thanks to Athari Production, Manreza Official. Thank you so much for the great production. Until another episode, for now, it's a bye-bye. Thank you so much, Bonatoni.
Thank you too.